In this next article from Vice News, Facebook just forced its most powerful critics offline. Nothing says free speech quite as much as a multi-billion-dollar corporation with a global monopoly getting its critics shut down. Facebook is using its vast legal muscle to silence its most prominent critics. The Real Facebook Oversight Board, a group established last month in response to the tech giant's failure to get its actual oversight board up and running for the presidential election, was forced offline on Wednesday night after Facebook wrote the internet service provider demanding the group's website, realfacebookoversight.org, be taken offline. The group is made up of dozens of prominent academics, activists, and lawyers, and journalists whose goal is to hold Facebook accountable in the run-up to the election next month. Facebook's own oversight board, which was announced 13 months ago, will not meet for the first time until later this month. Won't consider any issues related to the election. In a letter sent to one of the founders of the RFOB, journalist Carol Cadwalder, the ISP Support Nation said the website would be taken offline after Facebook complained that the site was involved in quote-unquote phishing. Here's a tweet from Carol Cadwalder. Hey, at Andy M. Stone, exclamation point, why did Facebook take legal action against at FB Oversight ISP to get the website taken down today? You scared? Because nothing says free speech more than a multi-billion-dollar corporation with global monopoly getting its critics shut down and booted off the internet. And then what did she post? What is this application? So we write on behalf of Facebook Inc. regarding hosting of use of domain name realfacebookoversight.com, which contains the famous Facebook trademark. Registration has used services to host Real Facebook Oversight at these things. So this is a trademark, unauthorized use of Facebook trademark, such as these things, will be inevitably cause confusion. So whether the domain and underlying things are used or so let me get this straight. So they're saying that they used the Facebook logo, and because of that, they're phishing. Because people would think that this is Facebook related, and then they will input in their contact information, at which point in time, you're taking advantage of the Facebook brand to unlawfully use these people's gain these people's personal information, which constitute phishing. You know, I can see that argument. Yeah. Take down the domain. I don't know about that one. It says we've received a complaint. Domain name realfacebookoversight.org is involved in phishing. Domain name has been registered to and impersonate the American social media conglomerate corporation, Facebook Inc. Here's a link that will assist the understanding more of the phishing. Here's some evidence of the domain involvement in phishing. Thus, we're compelled to suspend the domain. Such activities are against our AUP. The clause that prohibits the activity is here. Prohibited users, no illegal or harmful use. You may not use the service to publish content or engage in activity that's harmful to others or illegal under applicable law, including or without limitation in connection to any of the following illegal, harmful, or fraudulent activities: phishing or engaged in identity theft. all right, I don't know. Um, I mean, seems more like a copyright regulation to me. It definitely seems more like a copyright thing because I don't know. I've ran a lot of open source projects, and I know I'm guilty of illegally using some trademarks on my webpage just because I was amateur and I was slopping stuff out, and I just put up some logos and totally uh, was not legit. Uh, but it's just because I didn't know what I was doing. Was I fishing when I had a project and then I put up a logo and then I wasn't even going to use that? Like this example is like a software project I made, like a SDK, and then I used some APIs, and then there was one that I was going to use, so I put the logo up. And so I guess they're saying, like, if somebody signed up and logged in with my thing, then that would be phishing. I don't think that that actually flies. I mean, I can kind of see where, like, okay, if you made up a fake website that was supposed to be like, facebooks.com or something, and then it looked just like Facebook and you're like extracting people's information. Yeah. Um, I don't know. Yeah, it definitely seems like they're utilizing their monopoly power in order to shut down their critics. Definitely seems like what they were doing. And this is the problem with powerful people: is they oftentimes turn out to be petty and vindictive, or they will be a white knight or a Xena social justice warrior princess, and they will want to utilize their white privilege in order, or their high status, in order to take a shit on anybody that they view is uh, uh, harming or holding down the minorities or the women. They're very quick and eager to throw the book at you, and they are powerful people, and they will damage you significantly. Like, they have just their social status, the people that they know, they can shut you out of important opportunities just for looking at them funny. That's all you have to do, is just look funny, and they can just say you're creepy, and then they can shut you out. Uh, these people quite often will abuse their power in ways like this, where they'll find a rule where, yeah, it's kind of true, but they know that it's kind of borderline, but they'll just go for it anyways because they want to enforce their dominance. There's some arguments that say that they shouldn't not do that because we do live in a world where people will take advantage of you, and if people they know that you can get an inch, they'll take a mile. So I don't know. Uh, One of the other sketchy things that Facebook has been doing was they were using some of their apps to spy on their competition. I forget which app. It wasn't any of their main apps, but they were using it. Was like a corporate app, and then they were illegally spying on their competition. So obviously these people are too big, and we need to break them up. They shouldn't they they shouldn't be able to maintain anything but the social network. They shouldn't have any access to. I mean, a lot of these features have made Facebook great, but they're going to have to get outsourced to third-party competitors. Like, it can't just be Facebook Marketplace. It's going to have to be a bunch of different marketplaces. It can't just be Facebook's video streaming service. That has to be probably actually just sold and rebranded. Can't have the same name. Can't have the same group of people. they can't have a fact-checking service. For everybody's going to have equal access to mark something as misinformation. Not just the fact checkers, but some fact checkers with high ratings will, maybe their results will show up in the top. Just like when you like people's posts. Some people make good posts. Those people should bubble up to the top. But every post should have a misinformation correction. Anything. Like if they have a video, you should be able to say, this second during this period window time, the person said this is wrong for this reason, and whether or not that correction is right or wrong, it just should be part of the record, and then it is up to us in order to determine whether or not that was misinformation or not. But whenever Facebook has control over this, they can control our political system. They can control who gets into the White House, into your local state legislators. They control everything. So it's a threat. We're going to have to shut these people down. Again, this next article here from MRC Business, newsbusters.org. Facebook and Twitter contribute over 90% to Dems. Wondering why Facebook and Twitter snapped into the full-on Orwellian ministry truth by censoring the New York Post bombshell on Hunter Biden. And if you didn't see the thumbnail, let's go look at the thumbnail for a moment. That's America right now. Donation records may help to explain that. Open Secrets records reveal that for all federal candidates, both Facebook and Twitter gave over 90% of their political contributions to Democrats for the 2020 cycle so far. So it's obvious that they have a political bias. They have money invested in Joe the Groper Biden. And so Joe Biden, he's from Pennsylvania. And these guys are in Silicon Valley. So what does that mean? I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry. The combined multi-million-dollar total of both platforms was split among individual employee donations and PAC money. The top recipients for both organizations was none other than the Democratic presidential nominee Joe the Groper Biden, the one that a Secret Service agent had to be restrained to prevent him from punching after the Groper Biden groped his girlfriend. True story. Joe Biden used to streak around the White House. He's the creepy naked dude who gropes your girlfriend at the White House. I mean, I don't understand like how this shit gets this crazy. To be quite honest, it's like I got to just be like losing it and making this shit up, right? Nope. He's actually Joe the Groper Biden, the one with the crackhead son that bangs hookers and gets shady backroom deals from China and Russia. Yeah, they said that Donald Trump was the Russian asset, while this dude's actually getting millions of dollars from the Russians and the Chinese. That's who they're trying to put, they meaning Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey, in Silicon Valley, the leftist groupthink echo chamber, where rent is crazy high. And then since the pandemic, it has gone down 1/3 in San Francisco, which is crazy. Everybody in San Francisco is probably happy, except for the landlords. They're all like losing their property value, but that bubble was bound to pop. People don't want to work in Silicon Valley anymore. It's like highly competitive. And then it's a groupthink echo chamber. There's a bunch of people doing the same shit on the same thing. They're all putting off having kids until their 30s so they could rise up to the top of the ivory tower. And so it's like a suicide cult. They're all like, their families are all dying off, and they got to replace them with fresh meat to extract the life out of in their crunch cycles there in Silicon Valley. Crunch is where you have to hit a deadline, and so you got to work overtime, and it's really stressful, and a lot of times they don't pay you extra. It's just part of the salary. You're expected to do that. And the rent's so high that you have to work all the time. You have to hit all of these metrics, and it just makes life miserable. And people don't need to actually live there. They can actually work remotely, and your quality of life is significantly higher elsewhere. But then that brings the problem of the people from the city are spilling out of these Democratic run shitholes, and then bringing their big city problems everywhere else. It's like, great. Maybe we should let's just stop bashing Silicon Valley, and let's just say from now on, Silicon Valley is a great place. Everybody should just move to Silicon Valley, right? Oh, don't forget about the other Democrat run shitholes too. The combined multi-million-dollar total of both platforms is split among individual employee donations and a pack. Oh, sorry, I already read that part. For Twitter, the spread was even more telling, given its behavior last night in censoring people who shared the post story. For all federal candidates, Twitter has contributed a whopping 98.99%. That was $347,270 of its donations to Democrats via individual donations of $200 or more. No PAC money was recorded. Only 1.01%, or 3,556, went to Republicans. By contrast, Biden, the top recipient of Twitter donations, received $66,929 in donations, all from individuals. This means Biden received 19% from all contributions Twitter has made to all federal candidates. Woo! They fund a lot of candidates. So they spent 200 or more. I don't know what the limitation is. Not that much money for, really, that's not that much money. But it does show they definitely have a huge bias that when they censor people's speech, it's because they don't agree with the politics. And this presents a very, very huge problem for our society, because they always end up expanding the scope of these things. This is the problem with when you give government power, they never give it back, and then they'll start to expand their scope, and then they start to grow really big in scope. And so it's like where it starts with this. It starts with banning QAnon, with taking out whistleblower posts, and then stoking riots, allowing riots to burn our cities down, and then we're not allowed to organize our militias on their platform, uh, but it's okay to have a gun club. I'm kind of confused. So, like, what's the difference between a militia and a gun club? Oh, does it mean if they're white, they're not allowed to participate if they're a militia because they're the dominant culture, and then that means they're white supremacist? Or does it mean like if they're black, they can't be in a militia? Or like if you post pictures of you being in a militia, does that also make you in violation of their militia ban? I don't know. It's kind of confusing. It's like people start to self-censor themselves when they don't need to. This is the biggest problem with these people being in control. Is it twists the dialogue from one thing to another. This is why what they call the slippery slope. So you started censoring QAnon and people critical of Black Lives Matter or the Black Looter Mob, and post critical of feminism. And then where does this stop? Okay, so you won, you got everything that you wanted, and then you suppressed our free speech, and then you changed what words meant because you expanded the scope of the definition, and then you changed the context which they're acceptable in, and then you changed the definition of the things, and then you expanded the scope, and then you maintain control over everyone through this pattern. This is the slippery slope that we've fallen down. I personally think we got to take these people out immediately. Going into riot mode here in just a moment. If you know anybody that wants to join on a class action lawsuit against Facebook, I've had a lot of my posts, my statements critical of Black Looter Mob, Antifa, feminism, Facebook antitrust flagged. Oh, and then some COVID stuff. But I've never been hit with misinformation. So that's one thing you could say about me, is that I've never been flagged for misinformation. I've just been flagged for spam because they didn't agree with me. And then I got a hate speech flag a couple of times for something silly. Honestly, I've probably said some stuff that they could probably mess with me. I don't know, maybe their algorithms haven't ran over it or whatever, but so far, I think they view me as a legit news source. They just shadow ban me. But yeah, I definitely have seen that they have been very hostile to my political perspective. Not only Facebook, but also some of the liberals, because there is a silent majority. So vast majority of people will not comment on your post. They won't like your post. They scroll through. They want to be anonymous. They don't want to be the center of the attention on the internet. They just are just scrolling by, just trying to occupy some time, right? Probably not addicted to Facebook too. So, but people make this assumption that because one or two people commented on your post that they thought your thing was hateful, or that your thing was like misogynist or whatever. They think that like everybody else thinks these things, but like the truth of the matter is that actually the silent majority is silent majority. And they didn't actually think that. They weren't actually thinking about their mind. They're scrolling through. They're just like, they're not emotionally invested in your argument. They don't care about the thing. They never really thought about it too much. They were just scrolling by, like, oh, I think I kind of know that person. Oh yeah, there's my friend, or they're like, and then they didn't really think too much about it. So, but these people will think, oh well, these people on the internet, they were all pissed off, and so you end up with this cognitive dissonance triangle going on, where the people will like, they will judge you. They don't know a lot of times what the truth actually was, so they'll judge you based upon whether or not they like you. Or let's say if you're arguing with somebody, they're going to side with either you or that other person based upon how much they like you most of the time, as opposed to logic. You would like it to be logic, but the reality is it's kind of like a coin toss a lot of times with the people, whether or not they'll get what you're saying and whether or not they'll believe you. So uh, people craft these false narratives on social media, and the social media companies are pushing policies that they do to maximize their profits. And in order to do that, they need you to behave in a specific way. They need you to be docile, to not question the dogma, and to make it so the other people feel like they can also post a lot, so that they can be addicted to scrolling through the feed. And that's where I have a problem with them being political, because they're altering the algorithms, and these algorithms are then altering our lives, people's perceptions of the world around us, and they're based off of rules that are meant to comply with European anti-hate speech laws, so that they could sell the posts in Europe. And because the people in Europe are complaining about the far right, because it's always this fight against the far right. The far left is never the enemy, even though communism killed way more people. It's always got to be the far right, because it's this. They expanded the definition. They liberalized it. They said, no, far right's not just Nazis and fascists. No, it's anybody who has a nativist idea, anybody who isn't a globalist. If you're and not a tribalist, then you're far right, right? And that's because the globalists, the tribalists are all in their different tribes, and they're okay with warring with each other. And then you've got your nationalists who have more of a national identity, and like they'll side with people from their country because they're just in their country. And so there's some nativism to nationalism. American nationalism is a good thing because we fought the Nazis and we ended slavery. So our identity is liberal democracy, which is a good thing. But then, some other forms of nationalism are a pretty bad thing. So Facebook, they're all about tribalism and globalism. That's the two things that the things that Facebook fights the most is nationalism. And the thing that they love the most is tribalism and them being globalist. Because when people are in their tribes, they'll be on Facebook more. If people have a national identity, then they will be communicating with the other people in real life more. If they have a globalist identity, it means that the people at the top, the controlling class of Silicon Valley and in China and Hong Kong and like Russia, all these groups of people will be able to just buy up America, and they'll be able to be in control. Because you got to think, most of the world's wealth is not in America. America is only part of the world's wealth, right? So there's way more money outside of the country, right? And they all want to buy America so they can make more money out of it. So there are these forces that are pushing in, and Facebook is allied with the globalist. They are allied with the tribalist. They are deeply tribalist because they are Democrats. They're in the tribe of Democrats. So they must be broken up. We have to break up the giant tech monopolies. We can't allow them to have this power over our lives. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Comment, feedback, good, bad, or ugly. All feedback is good feedback.